Hello, everybody. Um, I'm your host, Nerdic Pride, and I'm welcome you to a exciting new episode of Nerdic Episodes. Sadly, unfortunately, I'm discontinuing the podcast on Spotify because they. Okay, so I originally started my podcast on Anchor, and I did Nerdic Pride, Nerdic Episodes, and I did. I want to say a couple hundred episodes. Like 4 or 5 seasons, maybe 6 seasons, and it was Anchor all the way through. I would use the Anchor app, the Anchor website, the Anchor this, that, and the other to produce my episodes and put them, online or on Spotify or on Anchor. And then they were bought out by Riverside, Rivers, I don't know what the name was, but same thing happened. I was like, okay, still use Anchor, technically, still be able to make it on there, technically, and then they'll go to wherever. Awesome sauce, right? Wrong. These past few months, I had to use StreamYard, which is cool. No issues with StreamYard, but um, I was accustomed to Anchor, and so Anchor did have a bunch of my episodes that I could produce and put out, yada yada yada. I rarely edit it because I didn't feel like editing because I got lazy. And yet I'll be spending most of my nights editing little videos for TikToks and like my gaming stuff for TikTok or my weekly comic book haul on Instagram. And but for the podcast and videos, I get too lazy. It's really weird. But then Riverside, back to the main point, Riverside was bought out by Spotify, and it was fine for the first few times because I would use record stream here on StreamYard, download the video, remove the audio, and then publish the audio on the Anchor website that I was using. But now, as of today, they don't do that anymore. You got to have a Spotify account, Spotify this, Spotify that. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I already had a good account, which I use my Google account because I'm using my Chromebook now. And I I was always use this Google account, like, oh, Google, okay, Anchor, Google, Riverside, Google, StreamYard, Google, whatever Google account I have are all linked to that one email. So my YouTube, the StreamYard, well, used to Anchor, but now not anymore. So now I'm trying to figure out a new way to do podcasts because it won't let me do it without a Spotify account. And I have a Spotify account, but I don't want to. I don't remember any of the passwords for it. I had a booklet somewhere, but now I lost it. Had all my passwords on it, but not Spotify. Spotify, it's an old one that I used, and then my beauty lent me hers so I could use her account, and I was like, okay. So I discontinued using my Spotify for my own, listening to Sherlock Holmes Adventures or Box 13 or music or whatever. And so from there, I was like, I don't need Spotify really. Like, I barely use it now when I try to listen to music and whatnot. Um, so I guess I'll be doing Blodeos, these amazing broadcasted blog videos, Blodeos. Yeah, I was very disappointed because I liked making the podcast. Like I liked it. I didn't really have to put my face out there, but now I have to because I got to do YouTube videos, and I did research some like podcast apps and websites to see which one was better, like which was free. Like I'm not spending money just to be able to put um like 20-minute episodes out like 4 times a week, depending on how busy I am. But I'm not gonna be spending money on these dumb podcasts where they're like, oh yeah, you could create an account, but you only have like, and this is one that I saw earlier, that you could make a free account, but the free account is only 500 hours and I want to say like 1,000 um, gigabytes or something like that. And I was like, 500 hours? That's not much considering like that's if I do 20 episodes and that's I did math to it. I was like, that's at least 3 or 4 months because 60 minutes, 20, it's like 3 episodes is 60 minutes for me. And then if I go over or go under, it'll be 60 minutes. And then that's 3 weeks. 6 weeks, if I do 120 minutes, give or take, would be 6 weeks. And then, oh no, it's going to be less than 3 or 4 months. It might be like in between 3 months and like the beginning of the fourth month. I'm like, I don't want to do that because then they'll have to charge me for like X amount of monies to have unlimited. And I think that's dumb. Unless it says like not first time, like $10 per like lifetime. $10 lifetime. That's it. I'll be okay with that. But sadly, that's not the world we live in. Because there are always all these websites and apps are charging out the wazoo, which is why I like Anchor and I like StreamYard. You don't have to charge to record or post things up. But now everything's like, oh, you want to be a creator? Just fork over this amount of money, and we'll make sure like your stuff gets heard. Oh, you're doing it for free? Okay, we'll just put your stuff like right over here, and we'll leave it there. I don't like that. That's not how I want to do this. And plus my podcast was getting more to like the complaint departments that I deal with work and life and whatnot. And that's not what I wanted to do to begin with. So I'm glad I'm doing this change. Because I want to get back to why I wanted to start this whole podcast to begin with was, to entertain. Clearly to entertain and be nerdy and express how much I love being a nerd and not, as you could see behind me, you could see my nerdiness unbound. But yeah, that's what I want to do to begin with. And somehow like my stress and agitation dealing with like certain coworkers at work or certain situations and this, that, and the other kind of annoyed me a bit. And it didn't help that when I did these episodes, it like bled through and I got even more aggravated and agitated and annoyed. And it wasn't something I wanted to do. Not like that. But we did a different podcast, like titled Work Complaints. I would probably do that. It's not a bad idea for a web series. But so without further ado, that's it. That's all the complaining and whatnot I'll be doing for this episode. And it's going to hit right around the 10-minute mark. let's go. Let's start on some nerdy stuff. This week is New Comic Book Week. No Comic Book Day. New Comic Book Day. And I make it into habit into going to comic book store every Wednesday for new stuff, because on Wednesday the new stuff gets out, and people, obviously, people like me, nerds and whatnot, comic book enthusiast, goes out and buy all the new stuff firsthand. So I used to just go to a comic book store like every once in a while, but I always missed out on like cool story, like cool books, cool covers every now and then. And I wasn't like really into conversing with the shop owners as much. I still, even now, I'm not comfortable doing that, because it's not that I find it weird. It's just that um, every time something like that, if I get attached, not attached, if I find like a cool place that I really enjoy going to, or this, that, and the other, it gets shut down or it moves locations. And so I try to just go in, get my stuff, and get out. But they're really cool guys. Everybody there is like super cool, super awesome, super chill, and it's amazing. It's an amazing comic book shop. Um, and so it's also a very small comic shop. It's almost as big as my room, maybe a little bit bigger, but not by much. Um, so I go in, get my comics, maybe chit chat every now and again. Like the main cashier, one of the main employees work there, knows my name, because I asked him a few questions about certain comics that were coming out at the time that I was interested in certain ones. So like he knows who I am, and I don't know his name. I might want to say Eric, because I heard them say like his name every now and again, and I'm like, okay, cool guy, nice guy, awesome place to go to. So I go in. I always start that way. I go into this shop. They have their new stuff laid out on the table, and it's the they separate them with like they have one part of the table strictly Marvel stuff, mid part strictly DC stuff, and then the front part where when you come in, it's like, I don't want to say independent stuff. It's like the lesser known or like startups comic book stuff, or like Image, Dynamite, stuff like that. Ones that only like comic book enthusiasts are more aware of. And then DC, because everyone knows DC, like Batman, Superman, yada yada yada. Then Marvel, Spider-Man, Captain America, Avengers, yada yada yada. Those are the bigger names. So I go in, I always check to see which, on the very first table, if any of those are the ones I buy. I'm going to buy today. Today there was Scarlet from the G.I. Joe issue 2, which is really cool. I haven't read it yet. I always go in and buy my stuff, and then when I get home, I like organize in which order I'm going to read them. Usually it's the first table stuff that I read first, depending on if they're like really good and I've been interested in reading them for a while. For example, Cobra Commander just ended the miniseries, and when I bought those, I would save that one to the end. So I would read everything else and then save that one for the end, because I was most excited to read that. Same thing with the Black Panther and the Dracula. Ooh, the Dracula was so pretty. I like that one a lot. And also currently the Blood Hunt stuff. That's when the vampires take over the Marvel universe. They block out the sun. They're able to wreak havoc and everything, and really intense. So I got the Scarlet one today, and I moseyed over to DC, which was nothing good was out. Next week is the Gotham by Gaslight Gotham, the Kryptonian Age. It's the sequel to the Gaslight Gotham, where Batman's is it sets in like the 1800s Gotham time period, Victorian age, Gothic, usual, and I want to say he's tracking down the Jack the Ripper, and it's so good. It's really good. I got that one signed by the writer Brian Augustine, who sadly passed away a few years ago. He was a really nice guy, really cool guy. I met him at Comic Con and I had him sign my copy. So I was really excited about that one because I genuinely enjoyed reading that. And so the sequel, issue 1 came out a week or two ago. Now issue 2 comes out next week. So this week I was just like, nothing good to see right now. So I went to the Marvel table. Bunch of new stuff that I was genuinely interested, which primarily was the Blood Hunt. I got the Werewolf by Midnight, volume issue 1, Black Panther Blood Hunt issue 3. Also got the stacks right here. Wakanda, starring M'Baku. That wasn't on the new table. That was on the wall. So I only got like half of the stuff I bought today were new. The other half were like back stock. I got Captain America issue 1 and issue 2 by Starkinski, a really good writer. I enjoy his stuff very much. I think he had done the Superman Earth 1 or Earth. I think it's Earth 1. Really good. Like it's a modern retelling of Superman landing on Earth. And it's really good. It's awesome and everything. The artwork and the first 2 volumes were so good. And I'm not much of a Superman fan, honestly, but there's like certain things I'll go out of my way to buy. Like obviously the Earth 1 of that Superman I would buy, and then I got the Secret Origins, and then Superman Birthright, Superman Emperor Joker. That one's really good. But yeah, that's my Superman stuff. Not all of it, but there are like certain other Superman comics or Superman based stories I would buy that are intriguing to me, or just because they look cool. I just bought 6 comics today, and like 4, I don't need them, but like 4 of the cardboard and sleeves, these things, they're bagging boards. That's what they're called, bagging boards. So I buy these when I'm walking home, so they could protect the comics when I'm like, the walk. But usually I use these if there's like duplicates that I buy. For example, with the Dracula or the Predator versus Wolverine, I bought 2 covers of each issue. One so I could read, and the other so I could bag and board, because that's not that I would sell them. I just think like they would look cool to preserve. I've also did that with the Godzilla versus Justice League versus Kong one. Also, that one was like a little all right. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I've enjoyed it. Got it. Sorry, my fan over here is knocking my stuff over. I don't know if you hear it or not, but that's one of the issues that I have. Is my fan, if it's too loud or not. But beside the point, the Godzilla versus Justice League versus Kong. I I love Godzilla. Obviously, I love the films, all of them. I love the Kong films, but this this was a little. There wasn't a lot of Godzilla in it for it to be like Godzilla versus Kong versus Justice League. No, there was more um, Kong than Godzilla, I would say. And obviously, there's going to be more Justice League because it's the Justice League and they're a bunch of Nimrods. But it's it was like all right. I would give it a 7 out of 10 because the cover art is what basically saved it, in my opinion. And there were some issues with it. Like I was hoping that we would see um like mecha Batman versus Godzilla kind of thing because Batman has the resources to make a giant bat to fight these titans. And yeah, that's what I give it a 7 out of 10. So without further ado, until next time, I'm ending it right now since it's like the first episode, 21 minutes, 22 minutes. It's fine. Um, until next time, I'm your host, Medic Pride, and I'm here with another. Be here next week with another exciting episodes of Medic episodes where I will be more focused on my, hobby, my comic books, my amazing pop culture stuff, as you could see from this side and on this side. Until next time, folks. Ciao for now. And